I love that, rock and roll yoga teacher. I like that. I'm going to use that more often, I think. So let's go. So when I had my last tattoo, my best friend's mother looked at it and said to me, "Oh, Esther, what are you going to think of that when you're my mother's age, 93 or 97, and you're all wrinkly and old?" And I said, "I'm going to be bloody glad I'm alive." Because I've wanted a tattoo since I was a little girl. Not this small, but I wanted tattoos since I was really young. My uncle had tattoos, and I was fascinated by these naked ladies on his arms and all these weird and wonderful pictures that he had on his arms. But I was raised with this very conservative middle-class upbringing that told me that tattoos weren't really for nice girls like me. I wasn't a sailor, and I wasn't a prostitute, and I had no intention of becoming either. But what I grew up to be was a bit of a rebel girl. I didn't want to be nasty. I wasn't, really looking to make trouble in the world. But I wasn't sure that I wanted to be nice. Didn't really want to do what other people expected of me. And I wanted a tattoo. But life kind of got in the way. And, oh no, I'm moving on ahead. So these, you may recognize these guys. They've been big influence in my life throughout my whole life, since I was a little girl, especially the lovely Mr. Harrison on the end. Now, he's going to feature quite heavily in the story. Oh, my slides have gone mixed up. That's not meant to be next. Oh, no. So we've missed a few slides, but no, we haven't. Sorry, I'm getting nervous here. This was the first thing I wanted as a tattoo. This beautiful horse on the George Harrison record sleeve, but then life got in the way, and I needed to buy alcohol rather a lot. And if you were at the event when I spoke, you'll know a little bit about that. My relationship with alcohol kind of took all my money for a very long time. So much so that one night I fell asleep and I got a different kind of scar. Fell asleep in front of the fire, didn't notice because I drank too much cider, and I ended up with this really ugly scar on my leg. And it was horrible. It made me feel really rubbish every time I saw it. It just reminded me what a mess I got myself into. So about a little while later, I felt really grown up. I had a baby, and I went off to university, finally making a really grown-up decision. I was an adult at last, and I was such an adult that I took my first student grant, and I went to the tattoo parlor, and I got my first tattoo, covering up the really ugly scar on my leg, hiding that reminder of what a drunken mess I could be. So my mother actually quite approved of that because she knew about the reason why I had the scar. So I don't think she minded. So fast forward 10 years, and I found myself in Peru after a bereavement. My brother had died, and I did a lot of fundraising, and I ended up in Peru. And I really wanted to mark this. This was a really significant moment in my life. So when we arrived back in Cusco, after doing the Inca Trail, me and my friends headed off to the tattooist. And I wanted something that represented mountains and my brother, but the guy couldn't speak English, so I got something out of his catalogue instead, which wasn't quite what I wanted, but I love it because of what it represents. Now this represents so much. I got this in India in 2016. I'd been sober for about 1.5 years at this point. I was a yoga teacher. I just published a book, and I was in India. And it was just amazing to get that tattoo. So a couple of years later, George Harrison came back into my life when my friend gave me that CD, that single. And I pulled out this vinyl. I hadn't listened to vinyl in years. And I pulled out this vinyl, and there was the Dark Horse logo again. And my desire for this tattoo came back. So last year, on the 29th of November, so a year ago tomorrow, which is the 17th anniversary of George's death, 16th, tomorrow's the 17th, I started getting this beautiful Dark Horse. And the 33 and a Third is also a George Harrison album. My son paid for that for my birthday, so this is the start of the George arm. And since then, I've had a couple more tattoos. So this one, this represents 4 years of sobriety. And I got this just a little bit before the 4-year sober anniversary. And it's got 4 flowers and a bud. And I love that because it kind of represents the 4 blooming years that I've already had and the promise of the future. And this here is All Things Must Pass, written in George Harris, not in actually George Harrison's writing, but in a font based on George's writing. And by sheer coincidence, today is the 48th anniversary of the release of that album. So, it's Robert Downey Jr. So if anyone ever wonders if I'm ever going to regret these tattoos, I never will. Because even if I go off them, and I don't like this one anymore, I don't like that yin-yang anymore, but they are reminders of some of the most amazing experiences I've ever had, some of the most incredible things I've got through, things I've survived that I might not have survived. And if I live to be 97, I'm not going to be looking down thinking, oh, look, it looks all wrinkly now. I'm going to be thinking, bloody hell, I'm still alive and I've got kick-ass tattoos. So thank you very much. And thank you.